We're having a little bit of a giggle here. It's probably an off-air conversation. Welcome back to The Wheelhouse, episode 116, I believe. And I've got Henk Vogels in here with me. Henk, we're in the comfy chairs today.
Oh, I like them. Can we please keep this
Keep the
set?
armchairs, yes.
I like it. I can sit back and, feel like I'm getting interviewed.
Well, we were just discussing posture. Do you reckon most bike riders have crappy posture?
Yes.
Because we have to work so hard to even sit up and look normal.
Yeah. I mean, cyclists need to do some swimming, like we're so hunched over. We need to go the other way and, just out like that,
We do
My
stretch out a
posture's
little
cooked.
bit. Well,
Absolutely
our recording studios in here at River City Studios, they are under the pump at the moment. So we've been punted over to the Easy Speak studio. So we've got lounge chairs.
I vote lounge chairs moving forward.
Moving forward.
Merckxy, can you sort that out? Make
It
it just easy for you?
Yeah, maybe some banana lounges.
that sounds
it kind of feels
actually.
like we're reading the news sometimes when we're up against the, when you're sitting up there on our proper set. This is way more
when it's very
cash.
serious business.
This
It is
way
very
more
cash. Yes, if you are watching, you will notice that we are in armchairs. I'm actually sitting here with my legs crossed.
Oh.
Up on the lounge chair. It's very comfortable. Speaking of banana lounges, Noosa Crit was last weekend. How was that? Was it sunshiny up there? Wonderful weekend, Henk?
Well, when I got up there, it was raining cats and dogs, and
Okay.
I think it was I thought we were going to have a full washout, and then the sun came out. One of the girls actually crashed in the warm up, and I thought it was going to be a butcher's picnic.
Hold on, what? What? A butcher's picnic?
A butcher's people getting cut up left, right, and centre.
Oh.
So, it all just steam arose from the ground, and the ladies were up first, and it dried out, and it ended up being a spectacular afternoon.
There you go. Well, we have entered that period here in Queensland of like tropical heat. Already, very early in the year. I can't even imagine what January will be like. But the days are increasingly over 30 degrees, and then it does rain cats and dogs at buckets every afternoon.
I love it.
I'm still getting used to it, to be honest.
I love it. Bring it on. Like, go and do your ride in the morning, hide during the day, in the afternoon. Thunder and lightning, very, very frightening. And then
Galileo.
you're going to be songing again, Kate. But and then it cools everything off, and then your plants and everything gets nice and wet, and then it just goes away, and then kind of Groundhog Day for 3 or 4 days a week like that in Queensland. It's lovely. But Noosa, it actually rained and it settled down, and it was magnificent. Really good afternoon. The girls won. 1, 2 and 3.
1, 2 and 3. Was it a good race? Like, were they all keen to race hard?
Yeah, it was. They went out hard really early. The ladies, Sophie Edwards just attacked straight after like 5 minutes. It was a reduced crit. I think it was 30 plus 3. Wasn't huge numbers up there. So the ARA girls were up against some Bridge Lane girls and the local Queensland ladies. They run 1, 2 and 3. Lucy Stewart second, and Emily Sanders, who I must admit is going to be a superstar. So she is a very, very strong young girl.
Well,
she's a junior.
What have you seen in her racing that makes you feel confident in saying that?
Well, Lucy Stewart's just gone to Jayco Alula for next year.
Yeah.
And I have heard through the team, I'm not the DS for the ladies, so I do hear how they're going. And I heard that she nearly rolled Lucy Stewart the other day in a race, in a sprint. So,
and we know how good Lucy is.
Yeah, Lucy's going to win a lot of races. So Emily is still a junior, and she nearly pipped Lucy in Noosa. So this is a girl who's been, this is her first year with the team, and she's run third by, a tie with to Lucy. So Sophie was away, so she nearly rolled in a bunchy. She nearly rolled a teammate. So
I do want to talk a bit later actually about the sport changing a little bit and the effect it has on the youngsters. So
we'll come back to that.
Let's come back to that. The biggest news this week, though, absolutely mind-blowing. Tadej Pogacar has a new contract €50 million over 6 years, which equates to about 13 million Aussie a year. That's a very big contract. Also, in other big news, Remco Evenepoel passed up a €10 million per year contract. So quite opposing decision-making there. Let's talk about Pogacar first. It's not only €50 million over 6 years. It's a 200 million buyout clause. That, to me, forgetting the contract size, just says he's comfortable to sign that he's not looking at going elsewhere. 6 years is a long time, firstly. €50 million is a lot of money, secondly. And thirdly, a 200 million buyout clause, he may as well make himself at home.
Well, if he ever hates being on that team, he's not going to have nowhere near enough money to buy himself out because no one else is going to afford a $200 million buyout clause, and that's more than 4 teams' budgets, total budgets. So
it's kind of symbolic, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just thrown in there to say.
Yeah. I mean, but riders do get bought out, so it's a smart move by UAE. But what's happened is so he's doubled his contract in the last 12 months. So 2 years ago, remember, Jonas wins the Tour de France. Pog runs, wherever he ran when he lost did he actually run on the podium the year that Jonas won?
Yeah.
Was he on the podium?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's had a massive contract then, but he's pantsed everyone this year and had the best probable year in the last 20 years of cycling. So they've just locked him away forever. So they're thinking he's going to win another 5 Tour de France's. He's going to win a 5. He's going to win all the classics. He's going to win the Giro when he wants to race it. If he decides he wants to do the Vuelta one year, he's going to win that. So they've just locked this guy away, and it's a smart move. And I actually think for him signing these big contracts, I reckon it sounds ridiculous, but he's sold himself short. Like, yes, it's the biggest contract, but if you kind of put it in perspective to soccer, NFL, ice hockey, basketball in the US, he's actually just like he's on the bench of the Celtics.
Well, I mean,
you know what I mean? Like
200 million for
buyout.
Ronaldo.
Yeah, so Ronaldo.
I mean, that's just his per year. That's his per year. Yeah. That's his contract, 200. That's Tadej's buyout.
Yeah,
over
so it's not even 10%
contract.
of what he's making, and that's Saudi money as well, right? So he should have thought, maybe I could have got double this. If I win another one, maybe I can get 20 million euros a year. So he's locked in for that now.
But, okay, so it begs the question to me, that's a lot of money. Like, what do you even do with that money? Like, that's...
Do you know what it is, Kate? It's 34,000 Australian dollars per day.
Excellent.
Yeah. How good?
That's fantastic.
But see, that's so much money. G'day, Merckxy.
G'day,
I didn't
Merckxy.
say hello
Yeah,
to you at the
yeah.
beginning, and I'm
there.
very sorry, but
You are running the show.
it's Merckxy's magic that has us in comfy lounge chairs this week, so I'll take that.
I like it. We're not going back, Merckxy.
No, maybe never going back. I agree with you, Merckxy. That's so much money. So does he, when you have enough, does it even matter? Like, whether he's sold himself short, like, what does he need the money for anyway?
I don't think he's that kind of guy. I honestly don't think he's doing this for the money. If you see his demeanour and how he is with the public and his teammates and everyone else, he's an animal on the bike, meaning he wants to win everything, and he's not selfish. He seems like a really well-grounded young man. He's obviously comfortable in his life right now, and he knows he's on really good money now. He's probably on 4 or 5 million now anyway. So going up to that, whatever it is, 8 million euro a year, or, we're talking silly numbers here. He's just happy and content, and then the pressure's off now, and he doesn't need to worry about ever talking about contract status again. He can now just go ahead and pave his way as the best cyclist that ever lived. And I know it's a big call because we bring the great Eddie Merckx into this conversation, but I believe he's on the track. He's on track to beat him. He's never going to win 564 races like Eddie Merckx, but a lot of those races, I would say 200 of them are like Belgian kermesses and races that don't exist anymore. And they used to do 120, 130 day races. 120 to 130 days a year back then. I mean, these guys don't do 100 now. So, but money-wise, it's this extraordinary money what UAE have. I mean, they had 55 million to 60 million euros this year, budget-wise. So, I mean, he's so Tadej Pogacar, to give you some kind of understanding here, Wanty have 12 to 18 million euros a year, and Pogacar has 8 million per year.
Just on his salary, and that's what they have on the full team.
So, yeah, Wanty have 12 to 18 million euros, and, you know, he's taking 70% of Wanty's budget.
Okay.
Total budget.
Not wanting to stunt his financial opportunities, because he deserves that. If you look at how much the other sports make, and you mentioned basketball, talk about soccer, talk about ice hockey, like just a remarkable amount of money. And as arguably one of the best athletes in the world across any sport, he certainly deserves the spoils. But what does it do for the sport where you have such incredible disparities, where you have budgets from UAE versus Wanty Gobert? Ineos used to be, when they were Sky, the team with the big budget who could outdo anything. Like, does this raise the salary cap question again?
Yes, 100%. And I think there should be. In my opinion, there has to be.
But that would mean that Tadej could never really earn more than a couple of million, wouldn't it?
Not necessarily. When you have a look at their roster, Kate, you have, next year you have Simon Yates coming on. Oh, no, sorry, he's going to Jumbo. So, like, it's got Adam Yates and Ayuso, and, you know, the amount of people that are on, like, his lieutenants are on more than some team leaders on other teams. So they can afford 16 incredible bike riders who can be team leaders of other World Tour teams.
So it's not about the star riders. It's about how much they're able to pay lieutenants, essentially.
Yeah, so they can get the 5 best climbers on earth and pay them the same amount of money as what Germain is making on their team leader, and say, all right, you guys are all on €2 million, €2 million, €2 million, €2 million. So whereas Germain's on €2 million and everyone else is on €80,000 in Wanty Gobert.
Yeah,
so there's
the
15 riders on that.
Is enormous.
It's not fair. It's not fair. That's the state of our sport right now. But if we did have the salary cap, so like the NBA basketball has a salary cap and they cannot go over. Otherwise they lose draft picks and then they don't have as much money for next year.
But their salary cap is so big that they can still afford to pay players.
Yeah, we're on another level, right? Those guys are on another level, but you can't have, you know, a LeBron James and, you know, a Nikola Jokic from Denver. You can't have those two. It just doesn't work. They go over the salary cap. So each franchise then gets a star. So right now you've got 12 stars on UAE and 1 on Wanty. So it really does stunt what teams can do. And yes, you know, every team has different priorities. Whereas, you know, Germain or Lotto, for example, they just want to win Flanders and Roubaix, and they're happy if they get a stage win in the Vuelta or the Tour de France. Whereas UAE is like total world domination, Giro, Vuelta. You know, they want to win everything. They want to win all the one-day races. Got the Olympic, you know, the world champion, and you know, UAE Emirates have got the money to do that, so they just buy everyone.
Yeah,
so,
it would be interesting as well if around the salary cap, their marquee, like in the A-League, you know, they had a marquee player that you could get, so they could pay them.
Yeah. Sort
of outside their general salary cap. But if you had like a marquee rider, marquee tour rider, marquee sprinter. And so you could still have some big names.
Yeah.
You just couldn't pay, you know,
exactly
every rider millions.
Yeah. I mean, the difference between cycling and the difference between NBA. So the huge difference is in the NBA owns the license, the franchising fees, everything, and they actually pay the franchises. Like that's the Celtics, they go, all right, here's $185 million. That's what you have to pay your players. But we own it and we get $2 billion from NBC, $2 billion from CBS, $2 billion from TNT. They're the three networks, $6 billion. Just push that around the league. Each team has, $450 million to spend or whatever it is, $150 million to spend. And then they just buy their players and then everyone has the same. So with cycling, the UCI just rules how long your socks are.
And what colour they are.
And they don't give you $1. So they're there just to crack the whip and say, your socks are too long, sorry, you get 100 Swiss franc fine, and by the way, you're out of time limit because we're the UCI, but they don't actually put any revenue into the sport, and that's the problem because the teams are not governed by the UCI as far as financials are concerned. So this is the problem. So when the television networks give all the money to the UCI, then the UCI can say, here's 30 million euros per team. But right now, our federations and our UCI just don't do that. And it's just the races that get paid and they pay their hotel rooms. And this is the difference between our sport and the big sports like soccer, Premier League soccer and NBA and everything else. So we're living in the dark ages still. We're still living in 1975.
It's a busted model is what I would say. When you think about Pogacar taking that kind of money and you say maybe he's selling himself short on the financial front, you tend to get kind of two styles of riders throughout their career. Those who just want to stay in the one place and get comfortable and they're confident with it. And then there's others who at different points want to find a new approach. And they're like, this has been wonderful. I've had a great time, but I need a new set of eyes on my career, on my training, on my and I think that's also can be a really big asset to some riders, having different experiences. And I certainly know that as an athlete, I really grew every time I chose to change teams. And I emphasize the word chose, because if you don't have a choice, if you just don't get a contract and you end up changing teams, that's a pretty crappy experience. But if you're actually quite happy but looking for maybe something else and you can choose where to go, it can open your eyes and your processes. Let's contrast it to Remco, who was offered 10 million euros a year for 2 years at Red Bull Hansgrohe. And he said, no thanks, you can stick that up your jumper. You think that's a great thing. Why do you think that's such a good thing for him to have done?
Well, I'm torn about this. I'm really torn about this for him personally, and I'll tell you why. So I believe that if Remco had accepted the offer from Red Bull, that I believe that in the next 5 years, Belgian cycling would be dead. I know that sounds really hardcore.
Dramatic.
So Lotto Destiny have just pulled the sport. Lotto are just hanging on by a thread right now. They only have a title sponsor. Now, if Remco left Quick-Step to Koning, that team, I believe, would be over soon as well, because we need Belgian cycling. And if Remco leaves a Belgian team, he is a superstar in Belgium, and if he just took off and went to a high-budget team, where would the Belgian teams be? We would lose, and we possibly can lose, Lotto with a big sponsor leaving this year. And imagine if Remco left and Lotto couldn't get a sponsor. Like, Belgian cycling would be dire. And when we lose Belgian cycling, we're in big trouble.
But that's a good thing for Belgian cycling.
It's a good thing for Belgian cycling.
But that's not Remco's responsibility, is it?
It isn't Remco's responsibility, but we've got to remember that Remco has been nurtured from a junior to be on that team, and he's been taken care of on that team. He's been given what he wanted on that team. He's been able to sign like Mikael Lander on that team and help him. Like, you're not going to win the Tour because you've got a strong team. Like, you're going to win the Tour because you're the best rider in the world. Right now, he's number 3. So if he goes with Roglic, yes, his sporting prowess can improve going to Red Bull. I think he's made a decision to stay to help the team and Belgian cycling, and he may have foregone €1 million or €2 a year by doing that, but he's going to be given everything he needs. So I'm sure that he's going to push the team for them to get better sportingly. So, that's, sports science and aerodynamics and everything else. I mean, you can only ride so fast, right? So uphill, flat. He's a time trialist. So, I think, yes, it's maybe a little disappointing for him, but I think he's done a moral decision to stay there. And if he was chasing the money, then he would have gone. But he's obviously not chasing the money, and he's made enough money already, or he knows he's going to make enough money in the next 5 years. It's just that question whether if he leaves a team, does he win the Tour de France with Quick-Step to Koenig in the next 5 years, or can he? Or if he went with Jumbo-Visma, there you go, Jumbo again, Visma Lease Bike, Ineos Grenadiers, or Red Bull, does he win there? I mean, maybe he goes, well, listen, I don't reckon I can ride any faster. Or, maybe this team, I believe in this team and they're going to get me there. So,
well, you bring up Ineos. It seems to me like it's a little bit of a dumpster fire over there at the moment. Pidcock is unhappy. He's out. Steve Cummings, who ostensibly was the issue for Pidcock, he's out. They've got a couple of other directors jumping ship.
He's not out. Pidcock's not out.
He's staying.
He's staying.
Yes, but
there was
out
talk.
of favour.
There was talk.
Yeah.
There was a lot of talk of him
There's
going
a lot of talk, and
to
I think
Q3 6.5.
a lot of it is contract stuff, not sentiment. He would have been out of there in a hurry based on sentiment. But Cummings is now the one leaving. Like, they're not good chats. And at this time of year, we're talking a lot about the transfer market for like rugby league, for example, and, analysing when captains are on the move and new coaches come in and how much movement there is. But cycling, it's unusual to see a team fall from grace in the way that Ineos has. Like when they were Sky, at the beginning of Ineos, they were just the big, powerful team with the big budget.
It started when Rod left, really, right? Ellingsworth.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's been a huge amount of change at the senior level that seems to have filtered down. And then you've got guys like Geraint Thomas, but he's at the back end of his career and said with absolute due respect, but Luke Rowe.
He's done. He was kind of the glue, wasn't he?
He's gone. So, like, what's happening over there? Why is the culture in the toilet right now?
Well, I think that from the start of Sky, they were so successful with Wiggins and Froome, winning so many Tour de France's. They were always up there in Grand Tours. They were always competing and winning them. Now, they've come back a peg because there's a couple of blokes who are riding unbelievable. So everyone forgets about Sky. Yes, they've still got fantastic riders. Ganna's still, slaughtering people in the time trial besides Evenepoel. Remco, but and they had Bernal.
Poor Bernal.
Bernal winning the Tour, in crashes, and that's the end of his career. Chris Froome winning how many Tours he won? 4, and then having a life-threatening injury, who's never made it back. Wiggins winning. That was their golden era. Right now, there's other golden boys in this era, and Ineos Grenadiers do not have a rider that can match them. So automatically, they're just into the third and fourth. And, they're the Manchester United of cycling. They've always been, since the start of Sky, they were the number one team in the world, and they were right up there the whole time. But now, like we said, with the money, now UAE have a bigger budget than them, not by much, I might add, but they just don't have the firepower. But I do agree with you. There's obviously something going on if Pidcock wants out or has talked about getting out or getting bought out. There's got to be something going on either in the management, the director sportive role, or the sporting role, and meaning, they were at the forefront of technology and training for a long, long time. Everyone else is caught up. So right now, they've been bringing back a peg. I don't think there's chaos there. I just think you just got to remember those facts that now there's 3 other bike riders that are just dominating in the GC scene. They're still getting one-day wins and they're still in top 10 in GC, but they're not there. So, it's strange, isn't it? It's cycling. You can be at the top for 2 or 3 years and then bang, you're gone. So,
but when you have budget's that big, there has to be an accountability for results.
Yeah.
And what's the skew of that falling on the riders versus falling on the staff?
I think a lot, because the races don't change. The races don't change. The riders just either get better or worse.
Yeah, but if
and
you
it
look
can't
at,
be tactics though.
But look at, the football world, like they don't win, coach gone, players stay,
Yeah.
coach goes. So why in cycling is it the athletes who are the first to slaughter and the coaching staff seem a little bit immune from it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a good point you make too, because if you can't follow the best three in the world, like, what are they doing that we're not? Is it a new training method? Is it? It could be anything. So, I mean, I'm obviously not in the inner circle, so I can't answer that question. But what I believe is that I wouldn't say their time's over. I think a couple of teams have gone past them, and they really need to get their act together to get back there. And they've still had a great year. Don't get me wrong. They just haven't had a UAE, a Red Bull year, or a Visma lease bike.
I'm just going to say that I love sitting in this new studio, Hank, because I've just noticed you've got Birkenstocks on, toes out. I don't even have shoes on. Merckxy's done a very good job of letting us be comfortable.
Actually, I don't really have any pants on either.
No wide shot, Merckxy. Merckxy, have you got shoes on in there?
Yeah, I got shoes on, but I don't have pants.
Pants?
No Pants Friday.
No.
You mentioned Chris Froome. I personally just love Chris Froome for not only what he achieved, but his comeback and the fact that he was brave enough to still put himself out there and get back into the sport and continue to have a long and storied career, even if he never got back to the heights that he was at. People are critical of how much he gets paid for what he's achieved, but, I think it's not all about the bike. But over at Israel, if we compare it to Ineos, they're doing something right because they've had a cracker year, but a lot of their money is spent on riders like Froome who aren't getting the results. So how are they having such a good year?
I reckon it's the new director sportives. I think it's Daryl Impey and Sam Bewley. Brand new DSs. Straight out the Pello, straight into the car. So they're so in touch. And they're pretty larrikins. I mean, South African and a Kiwi together. God.
There's got to be a joke.
Imagine that. Yeah, no. South African and a Kiwi
walk into a bar
and an Israeli walk into a bar. So what happens next?
Well,
anyway,
there's no booze left as a start.
Right. No, I think I'll follow a little bit on social media, those guys, and I've seen some of their in-car footage, which I really rate highly, actually. I think it gives you a real insight into the personalities of the DSs and what goes in and happens behind the scenes. But, they're straight out the car, and I think they've put a new lease on life. So, like, when you have a team that have and I would put Israel in the average bracket. I would put them as an average team. They're not the worst team in the World Tour, certainly not the best team in the World Tour. Yes, they got one of the world's highest paid riders, but yes, I mean, Chris makes a lot of publicity for that team, and good on him, best manager in the world to get that gig. But I think when you get a lot of bike riders who are mid-range and you can win races with them, you've got a really good tactician and someone that can motivate them. And I think that's what those two guys have done. And it's not just those two guys. There's always 5 DSs in World Tour teams. So they've got the right mix there. It's obviously a good manager there that's put them together, and they've had a great year. So had a lot of wins, had a lot of publicity, and yeah, they've and I believe that, even at a small level, even at a continental level or a junior level, if you've got someone that can motivate and you've got someone that can put a team together and actually make everyone gel, a champion team's always going to beat a champion unless you've got a race against Pog.
That's the asterisk, isn't it? It's episode 116 of the Wheelhouse Cycling Podcast. Thanks to Bikebug for supporting us here. We've actually got just out of shot almost a life-size poster of the Pog on his Colnago. And that was in collaboration with Bikebug. It's Black Friday sales coming up.
Nice.
There it is. It's a beauty. He looks so calm. He almost looks like he's just
He looks like that when he's
chilled
dropped
out.
in the Tour de France. Like 2 years ago, he looked like that. Maybe he had his head down a bit more, but
cool, calm and collected. Well, if you are going to put together a wish list for Black Friday, now's your time because the sales are coming up. And we'll tell you next week some spectacular Bikebug specials. We just need to get all the details on
have we
them
got any
to make
codes
sure.
this week for Black Friday yet? Can
For
we
Black,
put it
it's
up?
pretty early. It's meant to be the end of November. Black Friday gets earlier every year.
Aren't
So
they
hang
giving
out for
away-
another week.
Aren't they going to give away a gravel bike? Colnago
We're going to
gravel
give
bike?
away a gravel. I was like teasing at Merckxy because
No,
we're
don't
going to have it
tease.
Am I allowed
in
to enter that
studio
one?
next week. You cannot enter that.
Why? but
Sorry.
but I want to.
The missus probably can't either, to be honest. Sorry, Danita. Yes, they will be giving away a gravel bike. We'll have it in studio next week, so we'll show you,
Sick.
give you
I
a
love
tour of
gravel.
that.
I love it.
gravel too. Although I have a beautiful gravel bike. It's hasn't had nearly the love it needs.
You need to get out on it. I'm trying to get out every Friday, do a gravel ride. You saw in my lovely pink jersey last time.
Yes.
You know who doesn't have a gravel bike?
That'd be
Merckxy.
you, Merckxy.
Yeah.
Well, you're not allowed to have that giveaway either, by the way.
Yeah, sorry.
Hang on, who says?
You're shit out of luck with that one,
I
brother.
think they're on the fine print
Yeah,
on the
right.
T's and C's. Sorry about that. Lotte Kopecky, let's talk about her for a second because after the Tour de France routes were announced, she has come out and said, you know, I've shown I can survive in some pretty big mountains. Might be time to give GC a tilt. That's pretty remarkable for a rider who is known historically as a sprinter and a track rider. Is the sport changing, or do we just have this crop of incredible athletes from Kopecky to Pogacar to Vingegaard, sport or athlete?
I think a bit of both. I think now that we went through a dark days in the 90s with doping, I think that's all gone. I really believe that, there's only a few outliers who would just get caught. But I think now it is possible. It is possible, certainly in the ladies, with not like 3 weeks Grand Tours. I think, like we talked, the Tour de France this next year is going to be medium days, couple of flat days, couple of medium days, couple of mountain days. I think it's wholly possible for someone who can hang on and climbs, not necessarily be the best climber to win the Tour. Like I believe it, and someone like Lotte Kopecky can go into the mountains with a minute and a half, 2 minutes lead and hold on.
I think now's her time. There may be a future in the next 5 years where they increase it to a 2-week tour, potentially a 3-week tour.
Yeah.
But so long as it's 9 days,
Yeah.
it's her time to shine.
Well, yeah, I reckon she can do some damage in that, in especially if the wind's up one day or it's rain or, you have that, chaos days where someone like Kopecky comes into her own. I think that, she can do it all, really. She's not, her body shape says, no, there's no way we're going up the Col de Madeleine with,
with Gaia Raolini.
Demi.
Yeah, or
with
Demi Vollering. Yeah,
exactly. So, but in this tour, I agree with you, Kate. It's a shorter 8 or 9 day stage race. It's not short in the scheme of things, but yeah, it's doable for a lady of her talents. She can do it all, and Pog as well.
As I like to say, there's a lot of love about her. I'm so sorry.
Power.
She's got a lot of power.
Yes,
Yeah.
her body shape lends that to being able to do everything.
Yeah. Are you going to hit out on me if I keep doing puns, Merckxy?
Yeah, the terrible ones, yeah.
Terrible ones.
By the way, Hank, we had a few messages from viewers
Admirers
about the photos.
Yes.
Yeah, people
Oh,
wanted
they?
to get very
asking
impressed.
for your phone number.
Calendar?
Did you tell them I don't look like that anymore?
No.
No.
Well, I thought we could make some money, mate.
Okay,
But
fair
Hank,
enough.
it's a video podcast.
Exactly.
They are well aware of what you look like. So, and on that note,
I keep thinking, yes.
it is a bit of a relaxing off season. We're here in couches because River City Studios, wonderful production partners.
chock-a-block.
Thank you, Merckxy. They're chock-a-block in here, and it's to our benefit. So you might see us in the comfy couches a little bit longer. jump onto bikebug.com, make yourself a wish list. You can do it by just logging in and, hearting products, because when the Black Friday sales drop, you'll be in the running.
Yeah,
And
good
you
time to get
still
in now.
can't win the gravel bike. Hank.
I know, but I was just going to say how I'm going to cheat somehow, but I can't say that.
Hey,
on
No,
the
you
podcast.
can't.
Here's the footwear too. Look at that.
Yeah. Oh, you really did show my socks,
Yep.
my peach socks.
Yeah.
Thanks, mate.
Merckxy.
No worries, guys.
Thank you. Can rely on you.
Didn't get the toenail clippers out this morning.
We'll be back next week. Not too far till Blackline Track League is here in Brisbane too. So we're going to head out there and have a chat to some of the athletes. Support our team.
Very cool.
Since we
Our
have a team.
yes.
Yes.
In Brisbane.
In
soon.
Brisbane, yes. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, put it on your social media.
Yeah.
We'll
Share
see you
that.
next week.
Share that shit.
I will wear shoes next week.
No. Oh, come on, this is like Cruisy Fridays.
Can we paint your toenails?
No.
Merckxy, can
Absolutely
we paint
not.
yours?
Mine already painted.
Yeah, I knew that.
Show
What
us your
colour,
toes
Merckxy?
then. Come on, Mercy.
We're out of time.
And on that note, we'll see you next
Sayonara.
week. Sayonara.